Hello, everyone. My name is Hyungkwan Kim, or called Kim Hyungkwan in Korean. And my presentation topic is hybrid configuration with rapidly changing market prices. And this is a compendium of the research done by Electricity Markets and Policy Department at Berkeley National Lab, which is located in the US and is part of the federal government research facility. And I'm going to talk about what is hybrid configuration and what is rapidly changing market prices, especially related to renewables and how those are interconnected to the grid reliability and resiliency. So let's begin. I think there's okay a little bit. Okay, so before entering into the main arena, I'm going to talk briefly about what we're doing at the Berkeley National Lab and what we do and how can we support the policymaking process in the US. So Electricity Markets and Policy Department informs the public and private industries and electricity market operators to have a more reliable, clean, efficient, and resilient electricity market grid operations for the US government. And we are covering a lot of areas of the electricity markets, like renewable energies and energy efficiencies in utilities and whatnot. And we mainly working with the Department of Energy, but also working with a lot of variety of the institutions. And we are working closely with Washington, D.C. And for example, the recently passed Inflation Reduction Act, the IRA, we helped out the Senate mansions and Department of Energy, so we covered the detailing of a lot of the policy details about solar, wind, and energy storage, and hydrogen electric vehicle of the clean energy side to make it more detailed and concrete in the Inflation Reduction Act. So we are one of the few organizations in the US government system to support the electricity market policy, especially the clean energy side. So I'm happy to share our recent findings. And this presentation is a very well selected topics that has been conducted over the last few years around the hybrid. Hybrid, namely energy storage plus renewables, such as energy storage plus solar or energy storage plus wind. And we have found a lot of growth, price, and market drivers and whatnot. But I'm going to talk mainly about configuration choices and a bit of the future research of what we have found. So why renewables? Why solar and wind in the electricity market and energy storage? It's because it has been growing. It has been growing a lot and a lot and a lot for the last 10 years. From 2011 and until very recent years, the wind and solar are becoming a dominant generation capacity in the US. When you see a green, which is wind, and orange, which is solar, they are indeed dominating the market, and it's a well-known fact by everyone. But how about the future? This is the crystal ball by looking at the transmission line interconnection queues in the US for the last few years. So when you see the solar and wind, they are increasing over the last few years. And what does that mean is the interconnection queue, they are waiting capacity. They are announced that they're going to connect their capacity by such a technology in 3, 5, or 10 years in recent years. And when you see this chart, the solar and wind, they want to be connected a lot, like 300 and 500 gigawatt for the last few years. And also the energy storage, you see the energy storage, that is a huge jump in 2020. So there has been a lot of solar and wind waiting in line, and hundreds of gigawatts, and storage, it is recently highlighted. In contrast, when you see a gas, it's declining, nuclear, almost none, coal, nobody want to build a coal anymore, others, zero. So it is the market so far dominated by solar and wind, and it is going to be likely to be the future, is a written future, and also the energy storage, it is recently highlighted. And why hybrid? It's because a lot of the capacity that want to be connected, they are in the form of the hybrid. When you see the solar and energy storage by itself, almost 1/3 of them are becoming a hybrid, and it is an increasing trend. And it is not just because it increased the value stream of the solar and wind developers, but also it is assisting the grid operation reliability, and it is incentivized and encouraged by the government by a lot of incentives and credit schemes. So with that in mind, let's look at the market. I mentioned the solar and wind. They are increasing in the recent years. The solar and wind, they're dominating, and energy storage, yes, they are also coming in the queue. But I want to emphasize this is a local event. What do I mean by that? US is a big country, and not everywhere has a solar as much as California, for example, on the west side, or Florida on the right side, or in the Texas on the south side. So even though there are a lot of solar and wind are integrating, it is a local event. How about wind? Wind is also a local event. Not everywhere, but it is concentrated in the interior US, like ERCOT, SPP, and MISO, which is kind of Midwest and the south side. And what does it impact? This is the map of the price in the US in a very recent year, and the colors are showing the frequency of the negative prices. So the growing wind and solar have been impacting on the wholesale electricity market prices very, very heavily. And when you compare the previous slide, the topology of the wind and the negative prices, and also the price uncertainty, which is not shown in this map, by the way, but the distribution is almost identical. Those are impacting the wholesale market prices. Is why? Because one, the wind and solar are varying resources. Those are uncertain resources, and those electricity market price uncertainty is increasing with the higher penetration of the varying resources. And two, it is becoming a negative price or suppressing the price level is because the electricity market price in the US are cleared by the marginal cost unit. And what is the marginal cost of the solar and wind? Is zero. As long as you have wind and solar and those are installed, what you need is a bit of solar and wind, and then your marginal cost is zero because as long as there's a nature, you will have an energy 1 more megawatt. So because of that, the electricity market prices are becoming uncertain, so it is stressing out the grid operation reliability, and also it is hurting the overall value stream for the resource developers. And this is the zoom in of the California situation, and we can see an obvious impact of solar in California market, aka CAISO, for the net load and wholesale market prices. The top figure, if you have known a little bit of what's going on in California, it is a dot curve. So dot curve is represented by the net load, and net load is load minus renewables. And why do we want to call it a dot curve? Is because the dot curve, especially on the spring, the dot curve belly is getting fatter and fatter, especially during the middle of the day. Why is that? It's because California has a lot of solar and it is growing. When you have a lot of solar in the middle of the day, they are generating energy for free. And when you have more energy and the net load as defined as a load minus renewables, then your actual demand minus zero marginal cost unit are nearly zero. And it's actually at the moment in 2022, it is near zero. And there are two happenings. One, the daytime demand or net load demand is decreasing or near zero. And two, the ramping capability is required a lot more than previous years. Is why? Because in the middle of the day, the fat belly to the neck in the later time of the afternoon, like a 5, 6, 7 p.m., the ramping capability requirement is getting higher and higher. It is also stressing out the grid operation, and it is also challenging the grid operation reliability and resiliency. And what is its impact on the market? When you see the real-time prices, especially the spring, in the middle of the day price, it is getting lower and lower. It's why? Because there is less demand and there are a lot more renewables. And you can see a price jump or price spikes in the later time of the day, like 4, 6, or 7 p.m., especially in the spring. So the net load, the curve impacting on the real-time market prices. And the last figure on the bottom is a regulation down price. Regulation down is a ancillary service or product that's suppressing down the energy generation to give a downward pressure. And you see a price jump in spring in recent years. It is why? Because if you have a lot of solar, especially uncertain, you have probably very less idea how much solar or wind or the cloud are blowing in the next 15 minutes or an hour. So when there is abundant solar, then you have more suppressing event happening, and it increases the regulation down price. So the wind is increasing and the renewable energies are pressing down the prices, and California market with a lot of solar, it is impacting on the market outcomes and grid operational reliability. So by looking at that, what do we need to do? So before deciding what we need to do, we are looking at what is the value stream or how they suffer in the market as a renewable operator. So this is a chart showing the market value of solar with the x-axis, which is a solar penetration, and y-axis is the overall value factor. You can see simply as a value, and the dotted line is a on average market value of each market. So what this figure necessarily shows is that when you have a higher renewable penetration, then you have a less value, especially when you're operating as a renewable asset, and especially when the renewable integration is higher. So when you think about it, it's a bit of a conundrum. You want to have more renewables. And when you have more renewables in the market, especially when you're renewable, then you will have a less value compared to the other asset. So let me rephrase it. We want to have a lot of renewables, especially targeting the decarbonization and net zero carbon future. And we want to have more renewables, but by having more renewables, they are suffering, especially when they have more renewables. So we need to have a certain survival strategy because we want to have more renewables, but not demotivating them. So we think about what can we do to stabilize the value stream. And the right figure is the California market and the variety of the configuration that the solar can do, from vertical bifacial to the west facing or having a tracking and all that. And the right figure shows, okay, if you do something as a standalone solar without energy storage, as a standalone, if you do a certain configuration choices, you will have a value gain or net value gain. However, in fact, there is a bit of interesting thing is that the right figure is actually a zoom out version of the left corner of the left figure. And if you focus on the y-axis difference is quite heavy, and every value increasing choices by the standalone solar are dwarfed by what? By hybrid. So let me rephrase it. Everything you can do as a standalone solar to increase your value stream and stabilize your value expectation is great, but not greater or a lot less than when you are paired with the energy storage. Okay, why is that? It's because the price profile has been changing a lot. So when you see the bottom figure, the green line is the price profile with the lower solar penetration. And the brown one is the price profile with the higher solar penetration in California market. So when it's happening of the price spikes, with the lower solar penetration is about 3, 4, 5 p.m. But with the higher solar penetration, the price spikes actually happening around 7 p.m. after sun goes down. And what does that mean? If you are a solar developer and solar operator in the market to have a stabilized value stream, you need to capture the price spikes. That's the best resource of the value that you can gain. But if you're standalone solar, whatever you do, the price spikes happening after sun goes down. So there's nothing you can do. So that's why if you are paired with energy storage and the price profile in line with and impacted by the higher renewables, that is supporting the pairing with energy storage is because if you have an energy storage paired, then you can store the energy when the price is lower and dispatch it when the price is higher, even though there is no sun. And with that in mind, the best strategy for the current solar and wind developer is generation maximizing strategy with energy shifting capability such as the energy storage. And especially when you are thinking about long-lived asset like a solar and wind, you have a lifetime expectancy of how many? 20, 25, 30 years. And when you see the present, you may not feel the necessity of the pairing with the energy storage, but those are long-lived assets. So in the future, the renewables are integrating and penetrating a lot more than right now, especially in the US. So our suggestion is having a generation maximizing strategy, even though you're standalone solar or wind, in case if you are thinking and preparing for the deep decarbonized high renewable energy future. Okay, so far what we have looked at is the current trend of the renewable, which are increasing, and the future, the more renewables are coming in, and energy storages are also coming in. And a lot of them are becoming a hybrid for two reasons. One is increase the value stream stability, and also the incentivized mainly due to the grid operation stability and reliability. And those are necessary mean for the standalone and wind developers to preserve the value stream. And having a hybrid is necessary, especially with the high renewable energy future, is because there is a feedback loop of the market price profile differences. So we can double click the hybrid configuration. So this is, we call it a rainbow chart, but what it says is the CAISO, ERCOT, SPP, MISO, and those are 7 ISO and LTOs. And x-axis are energy storage capacity, and the y-axis is a hybrid value. And all of them are showing the value of the different hybrid configuration in different markets. Like a CAISO is California, ERCOT is Texas, and SPP is in the Midwest. And what it says is, yes, when you have more capacity, you tend to have a higher net value, as you see on the y-axis. And it is more prominent if and when you are located in the high renewable markets, like a CAISO, California, ERCOT, Texas, and SPP. When you see the top figure, the solar hybrids, those are going up and the numbers are a lot higher if you're located in the market and paired with energy storage. And if you want to have higher value stream, you need to pair it with higher battery capacity. And how about the energy duration? Yes, it is also important. The lighter the color, the longer the duration. When you have a longer duration, especially in the high renewable penetrated market on the left, the green markets, the CAISO, ERCOT, and SPP, then you tend to have a higher net value while it is a bit decreasing. But when you see a decreasing steepness, when you see a MISO, PJM, and NISO, it is almost go to the bottom. And it is mainly because, not because of the energy duration, the longer energy duration inhibits the arbitrage. It is, in contrast, it is actually encouraging, but the higher cost of the higher energy duration storage, it helps out to have gain of value, but the cost is so punitive. So that's why with the value, the energy developers and the system participants, they are a little bit hesitant of integrating longer durations. And when you have a longer energy duration storages, that also helps out the market. So there are a lot of efforts to help out to having a little bit longer energy duration storage rather than shorter duration. I'm going to talk more about what are the efforts. And this is also the figure that's showing the POI, the point of interconnection, namely a nameplate capacity. When you also see the left 3 markets, especially for the solar, if you have a higher nameplate capacity, then your net value stream is increasing, and it also helps out your value stream stability, especially when you are located in the high renewable penetrated markets. And it is not really shown in this figure, but our finding is that this nameplate capacity impact is increasing with a longer storage duration configuration. And this one is on ancillary service market participation of the hybrid assets. And there are 2 impacts of the ancillary service market participation by the hybrid. By the way, just giving you information that ancillary service market is the additional market to provide a service to the electricity rather than just energy. And it is not fully open to the hybrid and the renewable energy resources to participate in the full set of the ancillary service market in the US yet. But this is assuming that if the hybrid resources can participate in the ancillary service market, what are the benefits? The one, as you can see on this plot, the ancillary service market participation, of course, gives additional value stream, which is more stable and incentivized for the hybrid developers. But more so, ancillary service is in fact necessary for the system operators to enhance their grid operation reliability and resiliency. And when you think about higher renewable energy penetration situation like 70% or 80%, if dominating capacity is coming from the the hybrid and renewables in the market, somebody needs to provide an ancillary service. And if they are allowed, and in fact they can provide ancillary service, it can help out the more stable grid operation and reduce the challenges of the grid reliability, and also provide additional value stream for the market participants. So I talked about the renewable energy trend, present and future, and what is going to be happening, and what are the impacts on the market. It's a press down the price, and there is a price profile impacts on the market, especially in California case. And we need to have a hybrid paired with the solar plus energy storage or wind plus energy storage, not just for the value increase or value stream of stability for the market participants, but also the system operators, grid reliability and resiliency, is because the volatility and variability nature of the renewables. But why do we need to research all that? I mean, it is a multi-year effort, and it is not just a one single project and research. And it is because we want to have and make and help out a science and technology policy in the US to support the value boosting hybrid configuration choices, not just by the thin air, but based on the firm research like we did. So there are a lot of efforts going on, but I just picked one just as a case study. The one effort is a long duration and a storage shot as a compendium or part of the energy earth shot. What it necessarily says is that we are recognizing and emphasizing the necessity of the long duration storage based on the research you just saw. And what the US government and the Department of Energy is saying is that we want to reduce the cost of grid scale energy storage, especially the longer duration one, by 90% in 10 years. 90% in 10 years. Does that make sense? Probably not. Probably some of you think, haha, is it even possible? And I bet, boldly saying, it may be, and it probably will, is because the history. The history says, when you think about the solar cost used to be very punitive in 10, 15 years ago. Nobody thought the solar and wind, they're becoming the cheapest resource in the world. But now they are. It is mainly by the Sunshine Program by the US government initiated by more than 10 years ago. And they also said at that time they want to reduce down the cost of the solar by 90% in 10 years. And what happened now? They actually overachieved. So we believe those science and technology policy based on sound research and necessary driven effort, and if we put a lot of effort and money and unlimited resources, we believe that we can achieve this. And there are a lot of other efforts like hydrogen shot, decrease the cost by 80%, and carbon negative shot 90%, geothermal almost 90%, I believe floating offshore is 90%, industry heat shot 85% in 10 years. And all of those efforts are not just coming from the thin air, but those efforts are based on sound and quality research like we do. So based on that, I'm proposing that if you are expecting a higher renewable energy future, especially in the US, then we need to have a collaborative effort, and those efforts are coming from and based on the sound research, as you just saw from our team. So thank you so much.